Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank God the NBA gave us something to talk about. They have released their Christmas games, and they've also released the opening night games. Typically something I wouldn't really care about. It is fun to see who plays on Christmas Day and then who plays on opening night. But there's some interesting takeaways I think you can get from this schedule slate that they've released. You know, it's obvious what they do. They want to push the big teams. They want to push the superstars. They want to give people a reason to sit in front of their TVs on Christmas Day and turn on ESPN, despite the horrible, god-awful product that ESPN puts out on a daily basis, to tune in to watch some basketball. But it's always interesting to see who the league pushes, you know, what players the league's wanting to push, what teams the league's wanting to push. It gives you an insight into who the true stars are and who the NBA thinks will be good and competitive enough. So it's always kind of interesting to look at. So we're going to look at it today because there is one there's one hilarious takeaway that I've come across. Christmas games by we're going to look at some of this stuff. Typically, I don't care at all about schedule release stuff. There are people out there who go game by game to try and predict like how many games teams are going to win for the NBA. 82 fucking games. Like if you do that for the NFL, that's one thing. I still kind of think that's crazy. 82 for the NBA, you're absolutely out of your mind. So I usually don't care about the schedule release whatsoever, but the Christmas games is always interesting. So let's start here. Opening night, October 21st on NBC. Whoa, look at that. I just now noticed that. Look at that. On NBC. That's going to be crazy. That's going to be kind of lit. I'm pretty excited for that. But you get Houston Rockets at Oklahoma City Thunder. And Golden State Warriors at Los Angeles Lakers. So, of course, obviously, you always get the reigning champs home game, day one, night one, opening night of the season, you know, ring ceremony, hang the banner, all of that. So, immediately, though, one of my big takeaways here, no Eastern Conference teams, okay? I went back and I looked, not all that rare. I mean, this happened back in 2023 when there wasn't an Eastern Conference team on opening night. And, you know, it kind of does make some sense because you're always going to get at least one West Coast game, right? So it just kind of makes sense that the East kind of gets fucked here. But it's a trend that will carry into the Christmas games. The NBA thinks the East is going to be atrocious. Like that's immediately my number one takeaway from the schedule release. The NBA thinks the East is going to suck ass. And you'll see why I say that when we get to the Christmas Day game. But I love that opening game right there. I saw some people saying like, why isn't it this team versus the Thunder? Why Rockets? The Oklahoma City Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and this young Thunder team gets to raise the banner while Kevin Durant watches along. Something KD and his young Thunder team could never accomplish. He gets to watch his first game as a Houston Rocket as the Oklahoma City Thunder raise a championship banner. I think that's pretty poetic. And then you get the grandpops, right, on primetime, Golden State Warriors versus Los Angeles Lakers. Look, I'm past like being like, oh, they shoved them down our throats, whatever. They get what it is. Steph Curry, LeBron James, the two biggest names in the sport currently, and just ginormous attention drivers. Everybody tunes in to see what Steph's doing, what LeBron's doing, and obviously now you have Luka in there as well. You got to milk this grandpop matchup as long as you possibly can because this might be it. This could be the last year. You never know. I don't think this will be LeBron's last year, but you really never know, right? So you got to milk this while you can. Let's get to the Christmas Day game. Speaking of milk, make sure you leave milk and cookies out for Santa. Christmas Day game, we got Cavaliers, Knicks. You will notice those are the only two Eastern Conference teams on this slate. Not that surprising. You look at the Eastern Conference and yeah, it looks like a complete and total shit show. There's part of me as just like a basketball fan that wishes the NBA would be a little bit more proactive in their Christmas Day scheduling. Like they could look at this and be like, oh, the Hawks and the Magic are two up and coming Eastern Conference teams that could, you know, be players. And if we can get them on Christmas Day and start to shed some light on them, there's part of me that wishes they would do that, but I understand why they don't because there could be a world where those teams suck, right? And it's not like Trae Young or Paolo or like ginormous megastars at the moment, at the very least. The only two Eastern Conference teams. I went back and I looked through the history of the NBA. I believe it was 2007, I believe is when they started going towards 4 games a day. It used to be 3 and then sometimes even just 2 games. And then there were some years where there was just 1 Christmas Day game. And since then, I couldn't find a single instance where there was only 2 teams from a single conference. It's usually pretty even, and it's kind of hard to accomplish this, only having 2 Eastern Conference teams when the Knicks have been pretty much established to get a home game no matter what on Christmas Day. So it's Knicks, Cavs. I think everyone would agree those are clear-cut the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference, and nobody else. The NBA says we do not want to subject anybody to the Eastern Conference on Christmas Day. You know, it sucks because the Celtics would 100% be on here if Tatum wasn't injured. I think you'd probably see the Pacers on here if Halliburton didn't get hurt because, you know, they made the finals last year, and they usually want to keep those teams in rotation. You Pistons, that would have been kind of fun to have a Pistons game here. Like Pistons-Knicks could have been fun. Then you could have the Cavs play somebody else. I think that's a direction they could have went, playoff rematch there. But anyways, yeah, I find it kind of funny. You get Spurs-Thunder. The NBA is trying to push this Chet Wemby thing. It's clear and obvious. These teams play like on rivalry week and stuff. Well, I think this is a fun matchup. Wemby is going to be a mainstay on Christmas Day. That's just the truth. Rockets at Lakers. Of course, the Lakers. You're going to see in a bit. I did some tables to see, but Lakers are going to be on Christmas Day. Absolutely. I'll talk about something here in a second with them, but obviously you're going to get the Lakers on Christmas Day, and the Rockets 2 seed last year, hard fought series against the Warriors. They have Kevin Durant now. They're going to be a good team. NBA is obviously pushing them. They get an opening night game and a Christmas Day game. Mavericks at Warriors. So this one's interesting to me. Like I thought, as a Mavs fan, hey, we're spreading some propaganda, right? Because face of the league propaganda for Cooper Flag, we're pushing it, right? But if you were to ask me a few days ago if I thought the Mavericks would play on Christmas Day, I'd say maybe the Lakers. If not, I would say no. Just truth be told, they did get the number 1 pick. Cooper Flag is going to be incredible, obviously. Anthony Davis is a star, right? Now, if Kyrie were playing, that would be a different conversation, but Kyrie's going to be out with an injury, and Vegas does not think the Mavs are going to be good. A lot of people don't think the Mavs are going to be a very good team. Like, I bet if you were to poll people on who the worst team out of this bunch is, I bet you the overwhelming answer would probably be the Mavs or the Spurs, but I think the Mavs would probably win out that poll. So I do find it kind of interesting. I would have said there's no way that they play a Christmas Day game unless it's against the Lakers. So this is interesting to me. At Golden State, obviously there's the Klay Thompson factor there. Year 2 with the Mavs, I don't know if there's that same sort of like love and admiration that you're going to see from the Warriors fan base like you did see in Klay's return last year. Kind of an interesting Christmas Day game, kind of an interesting Christmas Day game. And then to close it out. Okay, so I did want to say this because I've seen people like, why would you not do Mavericks-Lakers? Why would you not do Mavericks-Lakers? And I would have guessed that they would have done Mavericks-Lakers on Christmas. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. Mavericks-Lakers, especially if it's in Dallas, because I saw people say, why not do Lakers-Mavericks in Dallas? That's going to be a massive ratings generator no matter when it is. That's going to be one of the most watched games of the season, I would have to guess. No matter when. It could be March 2nd. It could be November 14th. It could be December 7th. It doesn't matter when that game is. That's going to generate a ton of attention. So there's no reason to really put that on Christmas Day, right? Because like I just said, you can put that game whenever and it'll get attention, right? So you don't need to pull that lever right then and there. So it does make sense for me that they just kind of hold off on that, right? Because another thing you have to factor in, they're going to be competing against the NFL. The NFL is doing Christmas Day games now, and the NFL generates billions of views. Do I think NFL ratings are fake? I do. Absolutely. I think they do. I think they fudge the ratings somehow. But that's why. It does make sense to me when I look at it that way, where it's just, yes, that's going to be one of the most watched matchups no matter what. So there's no reason to put it on Christmas Day when Christmas Day already does good ratings. So save it for another day. Makes sense to me. And then Minnesota Timberwolves at Denver Nuggets to close it out. It does suck to me that this is the final game of the night because by the end, it's 9 o'clock when these late games start. You're kind of tired. You've been doing Christmas all day. You're, taking your new puppy out for a walk and you're riding your new bike across the street, right? It's you're a little bit tired by the end of the day. And this is probably the most interesting matchup to me right here. Just because this is a real rivalry between these two teams, and these two teams, they've gone at it in the playoffs a bunch, and the fan base hates each other. I don't know if the teams hate each other necessarily, but the fan bases hate each other, and it's a fun rivalry, one of the better rivalries in the sport currently. So I do love that they put that on Christmas Day right there. That's a really nice nightcap. I wish it was kind of, they could have done Mavericks Warriors last, honestly, and had Timberwolves Nuggets more in a primetime slot. Would have been one of my big tweaks here. And I do wish we got the Pistons or something in here. Who would I have replaced? I don't know. I guess the Mavericks are the obvious one, but I'm not going to sit here and say I wish the Mavericks weren't playing on Christmas Day. So I don't know. So I wanted to do this. Teams kicked off of Christmas. Wanted to look at this a little bit more in depth. 3 teams that were on Christmas Day last year that are not on Christmas Day this year. The Phoenix Suns. Last time they did not play on Christmas Day was 2021. So they had 4 or 5 years. Remember there was that funny ass 3-year stretch where whoever beat the Suns on Christmas Day went to the finals. You had the Warriors in 2021, beat them on Christmas Day 2021, ended up winning the finals that season. You had the the Nuggets the next year, beat them on Christmas Day, ended up winning the finals. And the Mavs beat them on Christmas Day and ended up making the finals. So that was a fun little streak right there. Who was it last year? The Nuggets beat them last year. Of course, the streak was broken, and that's why the NBA took them off, right? If the Nuggets went on to win the finals, it was we need to have the Suns every day on Christmas Day. I saw some Suns reporters tweeting this like it was a surprise. Wow, the Suns are not on Christmas Day for the first time in 5 years. Thank God. Seriously. Thank God they're not on Christmas Day. Thank God. Celtics, first time in a decade we have not seen them on Christmas Day. I do find this a little intriguing. Obviously, if Tatum were healthy, they'd be playing. No two ways around that. I do find this interesting because to me, this signals that the league looks at them and says they're going to be terrible. And I've started to, there are people who think that they can still be competitive. It's a horrible conference. Can the Celtics just be a playing team? The more I look at their team, the more I think they might fucking suck. Like they might be awfully bad. I guess time will tell. And then the Sixers, who, I mean, just thank God. The Sixers are too volatile, right? Who knows who's going to be playing? Who knows who's going to be out there? Is Embiid going to be out there? Is Paul George going to be out there? There's no reason to have them on a Christmas Day game at this juncture. So it makes sense. First time since 2022, we haven't seen them. Newcomers, the Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, playing the Knicks. I mean, Cavs-Knicks is a great game. Like, that could be the Eastern Conference Finals. And, I mean, gun to my head, I would say those are clear-cut two best teams in the Eastern Conference. So those two playing on Christmas Day is fun. Last time they played, 2017, LeBron's last year there. So we've not seen the Cavs on Christmas Day since Bron was there. The Thunder, obviously, you got to get the reigning champs in. Last time they were on Christmas Day, 2018, Russ's year, last year there? Yeah, Russ's last season there. So KD was gone at that point, but Russell Westbrook was still just a monster in terms of just interest and ratings and stuff like that. He was one of the premier superstars of the league. And the Rockets, last time we saw them was 2019, which I also believe was James Harden's last year. So as you can see, Christmas Day is superstar driven. The moment you lose a superstar, your ass is out, right? Unless you're the Mavericks. I don't know. The Mavericks, we're going to see here in a second. Christmas Day regulars. The Mavericks are low-key one of the most tenured Christmas Day teams. Like, out of all of the repeat teams, the Mavericks are the third longest tenured Christmas Day team. Like, they've low-key kind of been a staple on Christmas Day of the 2020s. Obviously, that was because of Luka Doncic, but then Luka leaves, and they're still in there, and not even in, like, a Lakers gimmick game. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me. But the Knicks did miss out on a Christmas Day game in 2020, I believe. But they've been pretty much a Christmas Day regular. They've played more Christmas Day games than any other team in the league. But they've been on Christmas Day since 2021. The Spurs obviously made their return to Christmas Day last year. You're going to see, even if the Spurs aren't that competitive again, you're going to see Wemby on here every single year, right? He's Victor Wembanyama. He's obviously very important for the future of the league. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. The league kind of needs Wemby to be Wemby. They need him to be that freak alien that, like, is almost unstoppable at his peak. Because that just think of all the storylines that built. This 7'4" freak, how do you stop him? He can't. He's literally unstoppable. That shit's good for the league. It always has been, right? Lakers since 1999. The fucking Lakers, man. I mean, they've been good, obviously. I believe since then, what? How many rings have they won? 6? So that's more than anybody else over that stretch. So it does make sense, right? They've had some shitty ass years sprinkled in here and there, but it doesn't matter. The Lakers are going to be on Christmas Day no matter what. So there you go. 1999, last time we haven't had a Lakers game. It's funny because, as I mentioned, it wasn't until like 2008 that we started to get 4 Christmas Day games. Back then it used to be 2, 3, 1 sometimes. You bet your ass the Lakers were always one of them, right? Mavericks, as I mentioned, since 2020. They've been in Christmas Day. Warriors since 2012. So pretty much the entirety of the Steph era, the Warriors have been on Christmas Day. This is going to sound kind of crazy. And bear with me here. Do we like overlook how popular Steph is? And the reason why I'm saying that is, right, it's the LeBron era. It's LeBron, his whole time here, it's been the LeBron era. He's been the face of the league. He's been the most popular player, the most talked about player endlessly. But fuck, man, Steph is so popular. So popular. I think sometimes I kind of underestimate just how popular Steph Curry is and how close I think he is to LeBron in just terms of global intrigue. Minnesota Timberwolves last year was, I think, their second game, maybe their third game on Christmas Day, but they're back. Obviously, Anthony Edwards, superstar, super popular player, super fun player to watch. So I'm assuming they'll probably be a mainstay on Christmas Day. And the Nuggets, they've been here since 2023 as well. Again, Jokic, superstar, megastar, best player in the sport. So there you have it. Just crazy to me. The Mavericks, the third longest tenured Christmas Day team. All right. And if Cooper Flagg's good, they'll probably be a staple. Like, if Flagg turns into a superstar, they'll probably be a staple on Christmas Day from here on out. Let's get to these droughts, right? Let's talk about some of the teams that It's been a while since we've seen on Christmas Day. The Nets, last time we saw them was 2022, obviously with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, right? James Harden too, I believe at that point. Or was Harden gone? Either way, that team obviously was going to get some Christmas Day play. Raptors in 2019, that was the year after they won the NBA Finals. They've only been in 2 Christmas Day games, so probably will be a bit before we see them. The Bulls, this one's kind of sad. 2016, a full decade. One of the league's premier franchises we have not seen on Christmas Day in a decade. And I mean, goddamn, look at their team. I highly doubt we see them anytime soon. Like, that's just the reality at hand. So it's kind of insane to me that this is like, the Bulls are good. They're massive, right? They're like genuinely one of the most popular teams in sports. And it's pretty much most of my life, and people could be in their 20s and their whole lives, the Bulls have been like pretty shit outside of 4 years, 5 years. Kind of sad. Pistons, I mean, kind of same thing, right? One of the premier historic franchises in the league. Haven't seen them on Christmas Day in 20 years, 2 decades. And in the NBA's defense, it's not like they've had a lot of chances to put the Pistons on Christmas Day since then, but I thought this year could have been an interesting year for them to be on Christmas Day. That breakout season a year ago, you got Cade Cunningham, this up-and-coming superstar in the league. I kind of wish the Pistons were on Christmas Day. The Pacers, we haven't seen them since 2004. I'd be willing to bet we would have seen the Pacers had Tyrese Halliburton been healthy. Again, they made the finals. Halliburton's an up-and-coming superstar in the league. So I bet we would have seen them, but unfortunately not. The Clippers, kind of interesting. The Clippers haven't had a Christmas Day game since 2020. And they've been like good since then. You know, Kawhi and Paul George were there. The league was just like, we're not fucking with you guys at all. Like, what? Kawhi's not going to play. I guarantee that's why. Not really that surprising me. They're not on. They're kind of just a boring team. Like, you've got Harden and you've got Kawhi, but they're older. Who knows who's going to be playing? I understand. I see people mad every single year that the Clippers are not on Christmas Day. And I think more than the league like taking a bet that the Clippers won't be good or anything, it's more so the league saying, if Kawhi's hurt, then what? Like, we've already have a chalked game. Like, no thanks. Grizzlies, only 1 Christmas Day game in their history, and it was in 2022. Makes sense we don't see him this year. Heat, thank God we don't see him. That team's so fucking boring. 2023. The Bucks, this one's interesting. The Bucks we haven't seen since 2023. You know, when you look at the biggest superstars in the league, you just go up and down the list, and it feels like, okay, yeah, that guy's playing on Christmas Day, that guy's playing on Christmas Day, that guy's playing on Christmas Day, that guy's playing on Christmas Day. The missing piece is Giannis. So we get no Giannis on Christmas Day. I don't think the Bucks are going to be all that great this year, so I'm guessing that's what the league is saying. Like, we don't want to put what's probably going to be a mediocre team on Christmas Day. The Mavericks are there. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I'm not saying I think the Mavericks are going to be a mediocre team, but Vegas thinks they will be. Vegas thinks they're going to be a mediocre team. Pelicans we haven't seen since 2020. Magic we haven't seen since 2011. I thought this could be a year where we see the Magic. Blazers we haven't seen since 2018, but they're on an upward trajectory. We could see the Blazers kind of sneak back into the picture soon. Kings since 2003. Yeesh. It is the longest streak we've seen so far, at the very least. Jazz we haven't seen since 2021. Probably be a while before we see them again. Wizards 2017. Yeah, they're on the upward trajectory. And the Charlotte Hornets never. The Charlotte Hornets have never played on Christmas Day in the history of their franchise. Come on, Silver. Throw them a fucking bone, man. Throw them a bone. Give me a break. That's just messed up. You got to throw them one. Like, put LaMelo on Christmas Day one year. Sneak in a 6th game if you have to. It's messed up, man. Never. 0 times. If I had to guess, let's look at these teams and think who's going to be the next one to be on Christmas Day. I'd have to guess the Magic. And the reason I say them, I think they're poised for a breakout season, and Paolo is the type of player that could transform into a superstar. We go back and we look at who's playing on Christmas Day this year. You know, your team has to be good or at least somewhat competitive, and you have to have a star. You have to have a superstar. It's either like the Cavs don't necessarily have a superstar or like a super marketable big player. You know, Donovan Mitchell's popular and stuff, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying like in terms of just a superstar, but they're a great team, right? Knicks have Brunson, great team. Spurs have Wemby. Thunder have Shea. And they're obviously the reigning champions. Rockets now have KD, great team as well. Lakers, need I fucking say more? Rob Pelinka get shit handed to him on a silver platter. They have LeBron, they have Luka, they have DeAndre Ayton now, of course. Mavericks, The Mavericks one's just, I'm not going to, I'm a Mavs fan, but I got to say, the Mavs just stick out a little bit. Warriors have Steph. Don't think they'll be a very good team this year, but they have Steph, Timberwolves, and good team. Nuggets, Jokic, good team. Then you have the Mavericks, where it's like AD. Yeah, AD's a star, for sure. But Cooper Flag, I really think that's it. If the Mavericks don't have Cooper Flag, are they on Christmas Day? That's the question I posed to you guys. If the Mavericks do not have Cooper Flag, are they on Christmas Day? And if the answer to that question is no, then we're starting to push Cooper Flag face of the league propaganda, folks. I need you to get behind that, and I need you to understand that, okay? Let me know what you guys think about this Christmas Day schedule. Let me know what you guys think about the Charlotte Hornets never once playing on Christmas Day. It's a little bit sad, really. It's actually quite sad. But anyways, interesting. I found this year to be interesting. The NBA clearly thinks the Eastern Conference is going to be horrible, terrible.